February 20th, 2024. From Corcoran Entertainment's recording studio in Miramichi, this is the Corcoran Entertainment Show with Franky Corcoran.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the Corcoran Entertainment Show. I'm your host, Franky Corcoran. That was a new little intro that we did in honor of Jon Stewart and his big return to The Daily Show, something that was a long time coming. So I thought I'd do a little something to honor him in this episode. So that's something that we're going to talk about near the end of the show today. But how are you guys doing? How's your week going? The weather has been... it's been meh. It's winter. There's not really much good that we can say about it. But anyway, we're still kicking. That's the main thing. Just wanted to say real quick too, guys, our Thursday Think Tank new episode is coming out in a couple days this Thursday. So definitely be sure to stay tuned for that. Thank you all so much again for your response to it. People seem to be liking it. So that's the main thing. And Christian and I are having lots of fun with it. And so definitely, guys, be sure, if you want to get on the Thursday Think Tank, just be sure to email me at fcorcoran10@yahoo.com with the subject Think Tank. Pitch your idea to me. Tell me what you're looking to do. And we will schedule you in on the podcast at a time that is most convenient for you and for us. And we'll make it happen for you. Also, guys, Playhouse Choral is coming up next week. Next week it's starting March 1st to 2nd, next Friday and Saturday at the Beaverbrook Kin Center. Tickets are $20, can be purchased at the door or by texting or calling 1-506-624-3315. So there's that. That'll be one of my last plugs for that. And so my guest today is a probably known as America's leading classical guitarist. That's one of his many titles. Jonathan Taylor. This man has done it all with regards to his career. He's toured all across the world, Europe, North and South America, Asia, you name it. You can check out his music, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, SiriusXM, iHeartRadio. Pretty much just type in Jonathan Taylor, Beautiful World on Google, and you'll be able to find him on there. And it was an honor to have him on the show. We even have lots of ideas coming up in the works that we'd like to do together. So we will say more details once we know about them. So we talk a little bit about his career. We kind of go off on a couple different tangents. One second we're talking about music, then we're talking about COVID and the school system. But it's a great chat, and it was quite the honor to talk with him. So later in the show, I want to give my thoughts on the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer that just came out as well at the Super Bowl. And as you guys could tell from the top of the show, my thoughts on Jon Stewart's return to The Daily Show. That was a long time coming. So super excited that he's back, and I'll be giving my thoughts on that later on. So anyways, guys, without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show today. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Corcoran Entertainment Show. I'm your host, Franky Corcoran, and today I am joined by Mr. Jonathan Taylor, who's a world-class guitarist who, let's just say, he's been through it all. He's been everywhere. He's done everything. There's nothing that this man can't do. Jonathan, how's it going?
Time for me to die, I guess. It's going great. And
you still got lots left in your tank.
I haven't played in New Brunswick yet, so that's a goal.
Yet he said yet. Keep that in mind, guys.
He said yet. I haven't played there. Yeah.
So, you played pretty well everywhere in the world, but New Brunswick, or like where exactly?
Well,
where exactly have you yet to play?
Oh well, the Antarctic. I've played in all sorts of normal places. I call it like Western Europe or Eastern Europe or North America, but I've also played in very unusual places like India, the Philippines, Romania, the Amazon, and Brazil, all over
Oh my
Brazil.
God.
So in unusual places as well as what I call the traditional concert auditoriums.
Oh, okay. So where are you from originally?
I was born in Santa Monica, California. I'm a California native. I'm the last one here.
Are you really? Oh my God. You're the last of your species.
Yeah, I'm the last of, right. I'm the last of my species. That's right. After this, forget it. They shoot me out into space. I was born here and grew up in Southern California. Even though I've been, a lot of places in the world, I consider California, Southern California, my home. And I live
Oh,
in
okay.
Huntington
Awesome.
Beach. But right now I'm out here in Palm Springs. I'll be going back next week in a few days to Huntington, but I was out here filming in Palm Springs in the desert area.
Oh my gosh.
I
See,
don't
the
know
guys
what.
he's been everywhere. The desert, he's been all over the place. India, Philippines. My gosh, isn't that something? Do you have one place that really stood out in particular that you went to that you're like, I like it so much, I want to go back again, or you have gone back again?
Boy, I've toured in Brazil many times, and I love all the places. The truth is, I don't have any one particular spot. I really enjoyed playing everywhere. Um, I don't think I've ever been that high up on. If you're near Bangor, Maine, you're near Toronto, Canada. I stopped in Toronto one time on my way to Europe, but I don't really know the town. Certainly don't know New Brunswick, and so I don't really have that. I love my own country, as many people love their countries as well.
No, absolutely, absolutely. It's almost like picking a favorite child. You're like, who do I pick?
Right,
I love them all equally. Like,
right. Or
what can I say?
who do I not feed if I have to make that choice? Right.
Yeah, exactly. I was wondering how it works. So you being all over the globe, do you get to choose where you perform, or is that an agency thing? How does that work? Sometimes
It's
the
more where
musicians
the
get a
gigs
say in it.
are, and actually, it's more, Frankie, where the gigs are,
Oh,
and
okay.
so they crop up, right? I mean, you don't know half the time. Like I never knew I was going to get my first European record deal in Belgium. I had an American record deal before that, and I'm now with Warner Brothers and Hit Lab for the label as well in partnership. And so you don't. So I never knew that my first European deal was going to be there, and that was a very reputable company at the time. It still is. It had a lot of artists: George Shearing, the great jazz pianist; Yehudi Menuhin, the great violinist, and
Oh,
many other notables. And so, sometimes you just don't choose. It's that the chips fall where they may. I say, throw something on the wall, see what sticks. Right?
oh, okay. I had no idea how that worked. I mean, especially some musicians that I know, and I know like what their process is and stuff like that. They don't go like crazy far. I mean, like some of them stay within the country. Some of them might go out of the country like for one show and then come back. But you've been all over the place,
Right.
so I
The
wasn't
truth
sure. Yeah.
is that usually you're never a prophet in your own land, at least initially. And what happens is you receive your successes abroad. Jimi Hendrix is an example of that. He was did the Chitlin circuit here as a rhythm guitarist for Little Richard and Isley Brothers and other people, uh, the Turners, Ike Turner, and he did that for years in the South. He was very poor, and then he went over to England on, I would almost say on a whim, but that's not really true. A guy brought him over there and wanted to introduce him to another guitarist that was popular at the time, a man named Eric Clapton, and
Oh, nice.
they Jimmy went over for that. They got a hit on Top of the Pops in England, and then made it in England, but nobody knew who he was. Came back here to the Monterey Pop Festival in Southern California, and that's really what launched his big career. Is that, and so you don't know where your successes are going to occur. So, for instance, one time I was playing in Targu Murish, which is a um, Romanian city that has the Palace of Culture, very beautiful, it's like 3,500 seat auditorium, big successes, 6 encores that night, and had big successes there. But then also playing in a replica of Albert Hall in Madras, India, in the southern part of India. Very humid there, very humid. And so when you ask about, where you direct your career, many times a record company will see the demographics where the albums are selling. It could be in Thailand, you don't even know.
Right.
An interesting thing about that is when I was doing with this new record company, I was very surprised about the demographics. You would think classical, and even though I've adapted so many pieces in so many genres, jazz pieces, pop pieces, American folk songs, many, many different things, but you would think that the success would be with an older group, but the truth is my demographic is 18 to 34, which is interesting to me.
Oh, okay. To you, oh my God,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's nice to have that it's scattered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not just
Yeah.
one number.
Yeah, and
Like
it's not that
or
just,
yeah, in
yeah.
particular.
And it's not that just 18 to 34s listen to my music, but that's a significant demographic. You know, every demographic does, but the percentage is high. So you just never know where things are going to go. Um, like I have a guy that wants to have me do a concert. He's checking out the auditorium this next week here in Austin, in Texas. I didn't know about that last week.
This is news to me.
Yeah, I didn't know about that until last week. So
You must have enough notice when it comes to other shows, eh? I mean, like, what's the worst one you've had where it's like, all right, so you're playing tomorrow night at this spot, and you're like, what? Have you ever had those
um,
before?
yeah, I haven't had that. I've had friends that have had that. I've been very fortunate in that regard. I had one friend that flew over from London. He was very, I won't mention his name, he's passed away now, but he was very, very big, very popular. And he played in Redlands at a university in Southern California. And he came over from London, and he was drunk on the flight. So when they picked him up and they brought him to the auditorium, they got there late. The flight was late. And so the audience had been sitting there for an hour, and he just got right on and played without warm-ups or anything. So that happens, and you just have to adapt. It
Right.
happens all the time. You adapt to whatever is going on. I remember
How
one
do you
time in,
prepare for shows? Oh, sorry.
I just know the pieces.
Just know
That's
the
all.
pieces. No warm ups, no vocal warm, or well,
Well, I try to warm. Yeah, I want to warm up before the concert. Yeah, it's just like an athlete stretching his legs. It's all
right.
the
Yeah.
same thing. It's the same thing. Or a swimmer, right? Making sure their muscles are loose before they start to swim in the competition.
It helps a lot of people. Some people, you're like, oh no, like I can get by without it, but it doesn't hurt though. You know what I mean? Like if you're especially an athlete and you're both like you haven't moved all day, you literally just rolled out of bed and you go
Yeah,
straight
yeah.
to a game.
Well,
Like
you'll pull a
some people
muscle.
just can't.
Yeah, if you're an athlete, you'll pull a muscle if you don't do that.
Oh my God, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why I couldn't do it. I couldn't be an athlete. Never in the cards for me. Did you ever picture that this is what your career would be being a world-class guitarist? Is that where you saw
Yes.
yourself? It
Yes.
is. Oh, okay, awesome.
Here, the truth is, I did something that most people don't do, and that is fulfill my childhood dream. So when I was very young, I was inspired by Segovia playing in concerts, by hearing my grandmother, who was a silent film organist and worked with all the people Charlie Chaplin, Keystone Cops, worked with Houdini many times, and I made a commitment when I was 14 and then later 16 to master this instrument. The classical guitar is the most difficult instrument to play in the world. And that's not Jonathan talking. That's other people saying it. And
Every
I've
musician.
written, yeah, I've written for, orchestras and that. And when people ask me, well, that must be very difficult, I go, nothing is more difficult than to write for the classical guitar or arrange for it. I can write a tone poem or a brass quintet or a string quartet, in a New York minute, and that's easy. But the classical guitar is a tremendously difficult instrument with its technical difficulties. The great violinist, Yatra Heifetz, used to say, the violin is the hardest instrument in the world to learn with the exception of the classical guitar. And that was probably the greatest violinist of the century, of 20th century rather. So to just to conclude that the voicings are so different for the guitar because it's tuned in fourths, the voice leading, and with 1/3 in the G and the B, and so there's lots of, what should we say, lots of obstacles, and one has to be very creative to overcome them.
Yeah, exactly. As any artist would, like whether it's theater, whether it's film, whether it's anything you're doing, there's always going to be bumps in the road, but it's how you deal with it. And I think it's great that that was your dream for your whole life, and take it to now, and you're still doing it. I think that's great, because there's some people that always say, okay, I want to do this, I want to be an actor, I want to go be a musician, and then years go by and they end up doing something else, which, I mean, great
Well,
for
I
them as
tell
long as they're
people,
happy in what they
yeah,
do.
I tell people the dream is for free. The hustle is extra. The battery's not included.
Yep, exactly. That's a great way
So,
to put it, actually.
yeah, so people, they dream. I go, what does that mean? Mankind dreamt for thousands of years to go to the moon, and it took Americans to do it. I don't mean that in a conceited way, but it took the competition between the free world and the Soviets. It took that competition in our bank book and our creativity to be able to go there rather than just dream about it, which is an easy thing.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
at the time they did it, they had no idea how to do it. They did not have those technologies available, or they were overcoming problems and obstacles, that they had no idea how to do it.
No, exactly. I remember just going through like what you've done, and I'm just gonna read some of it here if you don't mind. I mean, like, started off, you studied music at Chapman University, full presidential scholarship. You were the head of the music department at the Newport Institute of the Arts in Southern California. What else you got to hear? You studied privately for years at the home of the great Pepe Romero, who was also a private student of Frederick Node, whose PBS series was a staple of American life. And among other things, you've had a long, distinguished career, Europe, North and South America, Asia. How do you do it? How do you
You
do it
put
all?
one foot ahead of the other. I'll tell you this though, when I went to India, the flights had things happen. They were delayed and all sorts of things. So I ultimately spent 2 days getting to India, and I didn't have any sleep.
Oh my God, really?
And so I said, I'll never do that again. I'll never go that far, because from where I am, it's literally on the other side of the world, right? Dig a hole to China or India. They're close. So I would never do that long of a flight again. It was grueling. It was grueling because you're landing in like Vietnam, and then you're landing in not Hong Kong. What's the one right next to Hong Kong? The but anyway,
Our
you're
geography
landing.
is all over the place.
No, well, if you live in New Brunswick, hardly anybody knows where that is, I'll bet.
No, exactly. We're even talking about that before we started recording. We're like, where exactly is that? And then we were kind of going through doing geography class. You started off, this is what you wanted to do from a very, very young age, and as we said, some people, they want to do
Well, the odds are
like
against you. The odds are
exactly.
against you. Yeah, most people bump around through life. They don't choose a direction. They go, oh shoot, I need a job or something, right? Or
Yeah.
I want this girl, or they have that, And so what happens is when you're very young, and you're a legitimate musician, classical musician that's had, training and all that. And I go, well, your center is very different than most people's. You know who you are. And a lot of people there, I always say to people, but when people say to me, Jonathan, you find yourself, and I go, you never find yourself. You're always you. What you do is you build yourself. You're
Yeah,
building
exactly.
and expanding, but ultimately that's a question for science too. How do we know, and why are we ourselves and nobody else? We may be connected in many ways to other people, but why are you Frankie, and me, right? And that you can't really assess that from just saying you're a collection of cells and they congeal and that. I go, well, it's a mystery. Nobody
What
has the
brings you
answer.
satisfaction,
Yeah. What brings you satisfaction? And if you don't have shall we say, a discipline or something that's beyond you personally, I go, well, you'll be flung around life in a very disconcerting way because you don't have a core and a center. So if you know who you are, and if you work toward that and you build what you are, I go, you're better off, because you will be able to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune in a much better, solid position, deal from strength rather than reacting to, let's say, deleterious or negative circumstances that everyone will have in their life. There's no one that will not escape having something bad, and it doesn't, it can be a million things. You get MS or cancer, or your house gets repossessed, or 1,000 things. Your relative dies, your wife, your kids, whatever. So I go, well, if you have a strong base to stand on, then you're going to weather those better.
Yeah, exactly. Like life happens, life gets in the way, and you can't control it. It's how you deal with it that really.
Whoever predicted half the bad things that happen? I mean, who predicted in World War One that the Serbian, Archduke Ferdinand, he was shot, and now there's a war? And who predicted 9/11? Who predict, all these things that can happen?
COVID.
I mean, well, nobody. Yeah, COVID. There's a perfect example, right?
Yeah.
And the uproar, it's not, the deaths are bad, of course, but I mean, think of what it did to the economies of the world, and not just the people that passed away. I had it
Oh, it
twice.
absolutely
I
destroyed
had
it.
it twice. My view is that most people should get it. I agree that certainly the very sick and infirm shouldn't. But I go, well, it's going to be here 100 years. I go, do I want it when I'm 95? I don't want it
Yeah,
when I'm 95.
exactly.
I want it here when I'm healthy. And when I went to a doctor, he said I had the highest antibody count, I think it was 2,700, that he'd ever seen in a human being for the COVID strains, for a couple of them.
Oh, wow. Oh my God. So when you had it twice, how bad did you get it both times? Was it
Well,
because
yeah,
I
it's
know
not
some
pleasant.
people.
It's not. Yeah,
No.
some people. Well, sometimes it's the treatment, like putting them on the ventilators. It damages the lung. It's very difficult because I truly am sympathetic to people. I go, okay. When my mother passed away, I had her intubated, meaning put on the lung machine, and so I go, well, if you can't breathe, you can't breathe. So
Yeah,
you're
there's
going
nothing you
to
can do
die
about
in
that.
5 minutes anyway. So, I mean, it's a very difficult choice. And is it always a good choice? No, it can be a very bad choice, but it's the only thing you have available to you. So, but you need to, it's building up your immune system too. And the problem about this virus is, it's an altered virus, meaning it's not occurring in nature, but partly altered by human beings. So I go, well, you don't have much of a history on how that's going to work. And so, there are youngsters dying, studs that are 25 have a heart attack, myocarditis.
Yeah.
There are many, many difficulties to that issue. And
And you have
nobody,
people say, "Oh, that you're too young. You can't get this." No, no, it can happen to
and,
anybody.
and,
There's
like,
kids.
and they die. I mean,
Yeah,
and you're
exactly.
talking about, people with very strong bodies that replicate the cells very quickly, and that. So it's a very unfortunate thing that we all live through, and everyone lived through, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like when I had it, I honestly didn't know I had it until a friend of mine who I was a close contact with called me, said, "Hey, I got COVID. I tested positive." So I had it easy, but there's some people who didn't have it easy. I've only
Yeah,
had it once, as far as I know, because I mean, for all I know, I could have had it a second time and just didn't know.
right.
But granted, I can't be the one saying, "Oh, guys, don't worry, it's fine. Don't worry about it." Like I had it, you're okay.
It's a
Okay, but you
coin
probably have a
toss.
better immune system, you know?
It's a coin toss, and that's the problem with this particular virus. I go, it's a coin toss. You could be healthy as a horse, get it, boom, you're dead.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
grandma who's weak gets it, and it's a little sniffle. So
No,
it's a very
exactly.
difficult thing. Yeah.
And that was my grandmother. She passed away at 92. A few months before she did pass, she got it, and it was just like a cold. Like you wouldn't have been able to tell. Like it was just very like it just affects people differently. If you're vaccinated, you'll be okay. If you're vaccinated, you could still get it bad. Like it is a coin toss. But how did the pandemic affect you in terms
No
of
gigs for 3 years, no
no
live
gigs?
performances, but that's okay. I worked for three. I now have 180 performance videos on my app. I have an app that is free to anybody, and you can download it. If you have an iPhone, go to the Apple Store and just type in Jonathan Taylor, no break in the name. And if you're a Android user, go to Google Play and type Jonathan Taylor. It's there. You can download it for free. There's tons of material. There's interviews. There's performance videos. There's audio files. I have a series called Adventures in Touring because I've had so many adventures. I met the head of JPL on a tour once, and then he gave me a tour of the entire JPL facilities. And I was going to meet Carl Sagan, and he was dying in the hospital. So, I mean, I've had so many different adventures throughout my touring years. And so, how did COVID affect me? Getting back to your question, I go, well, you just didn't do live gigs for 3 years, but that's okay because then I recorded audio stuff and recorded. I have 32 albums.
No, well, there
Right?
you go. Like you've
Yeah.
already done it all. I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's part of you that's like, I want to get out and do some stuff.
Yeah.
But
And who
break
knows?
is
Maybe I'll
nice.
be doing that gig in Austin here, and also New Brunswick.
Yes, exactly. We still got to make
I
that
would love to
happen.
see New Brunswick. See the Canadians are the neighbors we don't know are there. The neighbors that we don't know are there. So quiet, such good manners, such nice people. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. People see
And
them on TV and go, "Are you guys actually that nice? Do you guys actually apologize for
yeah,
nothing?" I'm like, "Yeah, we do." Well, there's some people who aren't like that. There's some people
sure.
like I can be guilty of it sometimes. Like the stereotypes, like people just see what's on TV and they're like, "Oh, the Canadians, they're real nice people." Huh? They're not always nice.
Yeah, right. You know that during the Revolutionary War that we were fighting against England, America,
Right.
that territory there that is the northern part of the North American continent, what is Canada now, at the time was not Canada. Of course, it was part French, some Spanish up there, the English. Everybody was vying for things. And I go, actually, there was a battle with Benedict Arnold that he was almost going to annex that part of what you now call Canada, but that didn't happen. But that's a true story that Canada, that particular section of Canada, uh, it wasn't Canada yet, of course, almost was part of the territory of what we call the states, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And there
Wow.
weren't states back then. There were colonies, 13 British colonies, right?
No, exactly. Like times have changed for sure. You seem like you're really interested in history. You know lots about history. Like that must have been your favorite subject aside from music in school, was it?
Honestly, Frankie, um, I think the American school system is terrible.
Oh,
And so what I did is I went out on my own and studied many subjects: physics, history, religions, many different philosophy, so forth. I can quote Sufi poets in that. Come fill the cup, and in the fire of spring, the winter garment of repentance flame. The bird of time has but a little way to fly, and lo, the bird is on the wing. So that's Omar Khayyam from the Rubaiyat. In other words, I educated myself because most of what I felt was being presented in school was just a bigoted view, and also wouldn't help you financially. So I believe I had an epiphany one time on a plane where I said, most of what I've learned is either wrong or so limited that it won't help me get anywhere in life. And the reason why is the blinders and the box that people think. And I go, well, a subject can be in many categories, can be in many, many categories. So I took it upon myself to study literature. It took 5 years to really delve into the Russians or the Brits, maybe William Blake, maybe doing Voltaire and Candide and so forth. So I did that on my own because the paucity of the American school system is that you either learn somebody else's prejudices or you learn something that is not going to advance your life. It's not going to help you either economically. It's not going to intellectually expand your horizons. And as the saying goes, nothing expands the mind like travel. So when you see that your background wouldn't allow a doorway to a better existence, you have to create it yourself. And that's an American thing, by the way. Everything here, in a way, America is the idea of the ever expanding West, meaning an American is always becoming. They are not set. They're not gelled. The die is not cast and they are that one thing. They're adapting and they're creating and they're maybe destroying what worked for a while but no longer works. So it's a certain type of mindset. Freud used to say that he who can tolerate uncertainty will never develop neuroses. And the reason I'm saying that is that most people have in their mind a boundary of who and what they are, what their comfort zone is, and that, and they don't try to question, and I try to do this every day, question, why do I think this? Why do I believe this? Why am I acting upon this in this manner? To the universe itself is constantly changing. Constantly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything's changing. The world's
All the
changing.
time.
Yep.
I saw a wonderful, not to talk on, and I don't
No,
mean
no.
to.
You have the floor.
But I saw a wonderful illustration of the solar system, of how it really is. You learn in school that you've got the sun in the center. There's Mercury, and there's Venus, and there's the Earth and Mars, etc. The asteroid belt, Jupiter, the outer planets. And I go, and people are thinking it's doing this, and I go, but it's not. I go, it's traveling at thousands of miles an hour, and it's going like this. In other words, yes, part of that is fixed, meaning the sun is 93 million miles away from us generally, okay? But it's moving in space, so it's moving there. Let's say we'll call it east, just because we'll use it, earthly direction. I go, it's moving east, and then it goes up over here. And I go, it's not just revolving, it's going all over the place because it's traveling and expanding all the time. So we're moving not just within that one system, we're also moving within the Milky Way galaxy. Remember in the 20s, before Hubble discovered it, they thought the Milky Way galaxy was the entire universe. In the 20s or the teens, that they used to, they thought, oh, that was it. And now, it's just another galaxy amongst billions of other galaxies.
Yeah,
Because
exactly,
the optics,
right?
the James Webb telescope is changing everything. They're
Everything.
rewriting. Yeah, they are rewriting tons of stuff. They found galaxies that should be old and they're brand new. They're
That's
just
something,
forming.
eh?
And so that I go, well, it means that the time measurement is not linear and the distance measurement is not linear in this case. It may be true in this case, but it isn't true here. Otherwise, these should be, way older than what they are.
Yeah.
And so I go, well, the optics are now so superior. That thing is way out there. It's not orbiting in a close orbit, like a low Earth orbit. It's way out there, the James Webb, and to get away from the light, right? Get away from,
Yeah.
get in position to see better. So, that's changing the entire understanding. They think now the Big Bang is really under question. And that's not to say there weren't explosions or bangs, but not in the way we think.
Yeah, exactly. And history changes. Oh, this happened. No, that happened. No, this happened. No, that happened. It just changes like that.
Even
We're changing
though,
history.
and this is not to raise some like conspiratorial thing, because I have no idea when I'm going to this, but even when they found, Hitler's body outside the bunker, burnt and all that, and I go, well, how do you know?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they didn't have DNA. They didn't have any of that stuff. And I'm not saying that he lived and, conspiratorial, but I go, well, how do you verify?
If he lived, he'd be in a home right now. Because he'd be
Yeah,
like,
of
what,
course.
how
He'd
old?
be, well, I mean, the CIA, I think, searched for him until the 50s and down in South America with
Yep,
other
I think
Nazis.
so.
Yeah. And they searched because they thought maybe we're wrong.
Yeah, well, he died
Right?
he was 56 years old.
Is that what
That
he
was
did?
19 He was 56, I believe,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken. Born in 45, so he would have been, he'd be dead, definitely. He would absolutely be dead. I said maybe he'd be alive. No, he'd be dead.
Right. Well, some of those guys were down in Mengele and that were down in South America for decades.
Yep, that's right, eh?
There are German towns. I can tell you in Brazil, because I've been touring in Belém, which is the Portuguese word for Bethlehem, which is the Amazon, and in Rio de Janeiro, in Brasilia, the capital, and other places. And I can tell you there are actually German towns in Brazil, that are
really?
they speak German, yeah. And you look at them, you can tell they're German. And yeah. And the Brazilians are a mixture of three races, to my knowledge. It's the black, the white, and the Latino. And that's why they have beautiful bodies and beautiful skin, and that they're beautiful people. And I go, well, they're all those three races mixed together, through different tribes, and generations, and all that.
You learn lots of stuff traveling the world, eh?
You know what? You get on a flight, and I met a guy from Australia, and he's giving me Vegemite. You experience life in way beyond your culture,
Right.
way beyond Western culture. I tell people that when I've met Amazonian Indians who are like 4 foot tall, very small, perfect bodies, not dwarfism, meaning not the different shaped body. But I go, oh no, they're perfectly proportioned. I go, those people are like nothing a Westerner has ever seen, unless they've traveled that stuff. I go, they're not people that are like in the civilized world, in Europe, in Canada, North America, everywhere. I go, they're nothing like that. They're human beings, but they are not referring to their culture. And I go, and it's fascinating, because I spoke with them. We got along famously. I go, I can speak to anybody. I don't care what their language is. I don't care what their background. It means nothing to me. None of that stuff means anything to me. I want to connect with them.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah. So we had a great time. Yeah.
Wow. Certainly been through a lot of good. That's for sure. Traveling around and learning stuff, and look, great success, world-class guitarist. You've done it all, man. And so of course, guys, you can Jonathan's music is streaming everywhere: iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, Sirius, and iHeartRadio. If you type in Jonathan Taylor Beautiful World into Google, you'll find it.
You know what?
That's still correct, is
If
it?
they type, what will be easier is they type Jonathan Taylor guitar, just
Jonathan
Jonathan
Taylor
Taylor
guitar.
guitar. And if they want the app, and it's free, that if you join as a member, it's $40 a year. You don't have to do that. There's plenty of stuff. You don't have to do any of that.
But it's
And
worth it, guys.
yeah, if you go to Google Play and type Jonathan Taylor or Apple Store Jonathan Taylor, you get that app. There's tons of videos, commentary. Like I said, my Adventures in Touring series, lots of different adventures in touring that we haven't even touched on here yet, and so that is there on the app. And the reason why I say that is that's the easiest thing for people if they want to hear that music.
Yeah, exactly. Like you want as many people to hear it. Like, oh crap, I can't afford that, or I don't want to buy that. It's like, okay, but then there's other options for you that work for you,
Right.
and that's the best part about today's day and age. But Jonathan, thank you so much for coming onto the show today. Really appreciate it.
You're very
Congratulations on all your success. Any upcoming gigs that you want to promote for anybody
Well,
all across the world?
other than the one in Austin, I don't know when that's going to be, and we're going to do one in New Brunswick.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So we will definitely stay in touch about that. Super, super excited. And guys, thank you for listening to the segment. We are going to take a short break. We'll be right back. But until then, this is Frankie and Jonathan signing off. See you later, Jonathan.
Bye-bye.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Cork and Entertainment Show. That was me and Jonathan Taylor chatting. Definitely, guys, be sure to support Jonathan and his music. His music is streaming worldwide: iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, Sirius, iHeart Radio. Just type in Jonathan Taylor, Beautiful World into Google, and you will be able to find it. So thank you so much, Jonathan, for coming out, and we will certainly have lots to do in the future. We have a few more things planned, so just stay tuned for that. So the first thing that I wanted to discuss for our solo segments is, so of course we had the Super Bowl last week. I didn't talk about it on the show because the Super Bowl was last Sunday. I, of course, had an episode on Tuesday, but it was already recorded and in the can. Topics were already and recorded, so I just figured we would just talk about it a week later because people will still be talking about it. So some people can be real picky when it comes to you have to talk about it like right away. If I waited 2 months, then yeah, it'd be too late. But anyways, regardless, I wanted to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. The trailer came out. This is, of course, Deadpool 3. It's officially titled Deadpool and Wolverine. I did hear a little bit of the title's kind of a mixed bag for some people, but to me, I'm like, I don't give a shit. It's a title. They could call it Deadpool. I don't know. Shit. I don't know. Like anything. I don't care what they would have called it. It's Deadpool and Wolverine in it. I don't give a shit what they called it. They could have just given it no title and we still would have watched it. So yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine, the Super Bowl trailer. They call it a teaser. I call it a trailer because to me a teaser is like a minute long. This was like 2.5 minutes long. So I would call this a trailer. Obviously, I'm pretty sure we're going to get more. But if I'm being completely honest, if this was the only trailer we got, I'd be happy. I really would. Now, of course I would love to see more trailers because I think this movie's going to be awesome, and just anything I can to get the hype, the excitement juices flowing, I will certainly take it. But really, yeah, if this was all they released, I'd be fine. I'd be completely fine with it because all I needed to see was the shot. We didn't even really see a full shot of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. All we saw was him coming out with the shadows, his silhouette, shing, claws come out, grabs Deadpool, and then boom, the camera cuts to a different scene. Or actually, no, it just ended right there, actually. So yeah, that's really all they needed, honestly. The trailer's great. The trailer is really, really great. And I've seen a couple, I was actually talking to some friends about this. They're concerned that with Deadpool now, of course, Deadpool 3 or Deadpool and Wolverine, this movie is going to revolve around Deadpool and his integration into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he was actually concerned, saying, I feel like this is going to ruin Deadpool. The fact that he's in the MCU now, it's just going to go downhill. But if this now, that's a reasonable thing to consider. If he's being integrated into the MCU, Deadpool was so good on his own. He doesn't need to be integrated into any other cinematic universe. Like, just keep him as is. But after this trailer, I'd say no. They haven't missed a beat. They haven't missed a beat. As long as they keep Deadpool, they can do whatever the hell they want with them, as far as I'm concerned. And I think having Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine is just going to elevate that. So yeah, all those fears that I mean, I never really had any trepidation, to be honest, about that, thinking that having Deadpool in the MCU is going to ruin him as a character. I never had that at all. Might have been like a little bit of skepticism, but I wasn't too concerned about it, because Ryan Reynolds being at the helm, he's working behind the scenes. He has huge creative input on the story and the scripts and the production as a whole. And he really cares about the character. He is Deadpool, essentially. He really is Deadpool. Nobody else could play him. And I just think that because he cares so much about the character and he has such creative control over it, I don't think he's going to allow it to dip. He knows the character. He knows the story. He knows it better than anybody. People can say all they want. I'm a big Deadpool fan, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But really, Ryan Reynolds knows it better than anybody, because he's Deadpool. So with him at the helm, I have no fears whatsoever. And having Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine is just going to help it. And honest to God, I don't even need to see Hugh Jackman in a trailer. Just let us have it be similar in a way to Spider-Man No Way Home, where obviously we knew Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were going to be in it, but we didn't have confirmation, and they weren't seen in any of the promotion or anything like that. Even though we knew they were going to be in it, it was still hype. Not like just the hype was through the roof for that, just to see them. So even if they did that for this, even though we know Hugh Jackman's going to be in it, but just, if you want to keep him out of the promotion as much as you can, go ahead. But I mean, obviously they're not going to do that, because Deadpool and Wolverine, they're going to want to market it as much as possible. But just for me personally, I don't need to see anything else. Obviously, I will watch more trailers if they come out, but this was all I needed to see for Deadpool and Wolverine to get me excited. I am so hyped for this movie, and I'm still sticking with my instincts. This is just my gut feeling. I could be wrong about this, and we'll find out in July and probably more likely in August, once the final box office numbers are calculated and everything. $1 billion movie, and I think it's going to be the highest grossing film of the year. Now, you can call me out, say I'm wrong. No, it's not going to hit $1 billion. I'm just saying, I think it's going to be $1 billion film. It's going to be the highest grossing film of the year. That's just my opinion. As I said, everybody has their own opinions on that. Some say just I've seen the argument that because it's R-rated, that is going to have a huge impact on it. I disagree. Joker, Oppenheimer, I don't think it crossed $1 billion, but it was damn close, like 950, 980, something like that. So just because it's R-rated, that doesn't mean anything. Joker, of course, was $1 billion film, and I'm sure Joker 2 is going to be even bigger. Between Deadpool and Joker, I'm more excited for Joker personally, but what do I think is going to do better? I think they're both going to do great, but I think Deadpool 3 is going to be the biggest box office movie of the year. Sticking with that, we'll see how correct I am when the movie comes out. But definitely, guys, be sure to let me know your thoughts on that. What did you think of the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer? Do you like the title, first of all? I'm still saying Deadpool 3. It's just instinct, because we've been calling it Deadpool 3 for so long. But either way, Deadpool and Wolverine, who gives a shit about the title? Let me know what you thought of the trailer. Is this all you need to see for a trailer, by the way, to get you excited? Because to me, this is all I needed. That last shot of Wolverine, just his silhouette, was all I needed to see, and I'm so hyped. So definitely, guys, be sure to let me know your thoughts on that on social media. And so moving on to our next or second and final solo discussion. You guys will probably know, of course, judging by the start of the episode, I had my little own version of the Daily Show intro. Jon Stewart's back to the Daily Show. Oh my God, it just feels so awesome to have him back. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. The best for last. Jon Stewart has returned to the Daily Show. It's funny. I'm going to go back in time a little bit. When I was, I think, grade 4 or 5 or so, I was such a huge fan. I was like, oh my God, Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert. I absolutely loved the Daily Show and the Colbert Report. Of course, me back then, you're probably thinking, why would you watch it back then? A lot of the jokes flew over my head that now you watch it back nowadays and you're like, oh shit, that's what that means. But oh my God, it's just funny. So it would air on the Comedy Network. They would air the new episodes. Well, of course, it would air on Comedy Central first, like the night before at like 12 o'clock or so. And then the Comedy Network would air it the next day around 3 o'clock or so, something like that. Or 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, something like that. I can't remember exactly because I would have just gone off school then. And what I do is, so they play them both back to back. They play The Daily Show with Jon Stewart and The Colbert Report. And so I would watch The Daily Show, and then in the commercial breaks, I would play my own satirical news show set in Canada. I honest to God, I can't remember what I called it now. The something report, the Canadian report, or the Corcoran report, or something like that. Oh my God, I can't remember now what I was calling it. But I would have it as like an hour show. I would do it during the commercial breaks, and then oh my God, I can't believe I'm even saying this. So yeah, play it simultaneously with The Daily Show. So Daily Show, watch The Daily Show, commercial breaks. Now this is the Corcoran Report. I'm just going to call it the Corcoran Report because I think that's what I called it. And I do my own thing set in Canada, blah, 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 blah. And then I get to a guest segment. I just be talking to my... I can't believe I'm even saying this right now. So... Now here I am, all these years later, and I'm hosting my own podcast. This is the Corcoran Report. I should just call this the Corcoran Report. Oh God, man, I just can't believe I'm even saying this right now. I don't really tell too many people this, but basically, yes. I was such a big fan. Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert, I was such a big fan of them. I was real sad when Stephen Colbert announced that he was ending the Colbert Report, but I was very, very excited that he started hosting The Late Show, and it's great that he's just playing himself in that, because, of course, the Colbert Report Stephen Colbert is a fictional character, a fictionalized version of Stephen Colbert, and now he just plays himself, which is great, and he's really, really funny. Sorry about that, guys. I just had a heart attack. Holy shit. The male person came and the dog scared the living shit out of me. He's right next to me. Sorry about that. Anyways, and so yeah, Stephen Colbert is really funny as himself, and that's why I think he's a perfect fit for The Late Show, and that now he's not confined to playing this character, this fictionalized version of himself. He can just be him. And then, of course, I think about a year later, Jon Stewart decided he was going to retire from The Daily Show. And it was really sad. It was a really, really sad day. It was almost like funny because the Colbert Report ended in December, I think, that year. And then Jon Stewart announced a couple months later that he was leaving. And I think I always had an inkling that maybe Jon Stewart decided to leave because of the Colbert Report. Not necessarily like that was like the drive to it. Like, oh, Stephen's leaving, then I go. To me, it seemed like he was contemplating it, and then once Stephen Colbert left and went on to pursue this big host The Late Show, take over for David Letterman, I think it kind of just it planted the seed in Jon Stewart's mind, where he of course is a filmmaker as well too, and he kind of just thought that, okay, like Stephen Colbert, or like Stephen has been doing this for a while now, and he's getting more opportunities, and meanwhile I'm confined to this for the last like 20 or so years. And I think that was what, now I'm not saying that that's what I think what caused him to leave, but I think it was kind of like maybe I should leave and go pursue other opportunities. And then, of course, ended. They replaced him with Trevor Noah, who is really, really funny. Don't get me wrong, but for me, it was hard to. It was just Jon Stewart. It would be like if Jimmy Kimmel left Jimmy Kimmel Live and they replaced him with someone else. It's like, but okay, that person's funny, but it was Jimmy. I mean, obviously, it had his name in it, but. That was the same with The Daily Show. I'm like, even though it wasn't the Jon Stewart show, it was The Daily Show. It was, I don't know, it was like, I just couldn't, it was hard to watch The Daily Show without Jon Stewart. It just didn't feel right. As funny as Trevor Noah is and as good of a host he was, I just couldn't get too much into it. And then, of course, Trevor Noah left. They've been struggling to find a permanent host in his absence. And so now, of course, Jon Stewart is back, and he's hosting it on Mondays, at least for the year, to cover the election this year. Which to me, I was like, he couldn't have left at a worse time all those years ago, because it was like as soon as he ended his run, Jon Stewart ended his run on The Daily Show. That's when Trump announced he was running for president and all that stuff. I was like, oh my god, really? He left at the worst possible time. It was And so now, like, the whole American election, American politics, it's just like a sitcom at this point. I'm not going to get too much into politics here, because that's not what the show is about. But to me, I'm like, it was like, it's just perfect for someone like Jon Stewart to talk about this. And I think it's great that he's back to cover it, because it's just like, where do I stand on it? Where do I stand on the election? They're like, who do you root for? Who do you want to win, Trump or Biden? I'm like, neither of them. Both of them should. Biden should be put in a home, and Trump should be in jail. That's how I see it. I'm like, Biden can't even read, and he can't even stand up. I'm like, why is he running a country? You know, like, now that's just my take. I know, someone will see this and go, oh, his political opinion, just my opinion. I just think Biden's an old fart and he deserves to be in a home. That's what it is to me. And same with Trump, except he deserves to be in jail because he's just an asshole. But I just think it's perfect. And as soon as Jon Stewart, he just slipped right back into it, and it was like he never missed a beat, and it just felt like, okay, this was a long time coming. He left right before Trump announced he was running for president, and now here we are, and all this is going on. I was like, it just feels like that it was meant to be, and it's just so great to have him back. It really, really is. I watched the first episode with him back. At the time of this recording, I've yet to see the second episode. It's Mondays. It comes out only on Mondays. Hopefully, I just hope he comes back permanently. Now, I don't know if he will or not, because of course he left it all behind and everything. But I'd love to see him just come back full time. It's so good. I know he's super talented. I can't even talk today. He's super talented, and I just think The Daily Show needs it. The Daily Show really, really needs it. Jon Stewart is the hero that we need, but we don't deserve. We don't deserve Jon Stewart, so maybe he won't come back permanently. But yeah, guys. So yeah, definitely. If you guys have never watched the Daily Show, definitely. I don't know where you can find new episode or like the older episodes with Jon Stewart, but definitely find some way, watch some clips, and keep up to date every Monday with the Daily Show Mondays with Jon Stewart, because he hasn't missed a beat, and he's even funnier now, especially considering what he's talking about now. Just this election is just a sitcom that you literally feels like Curb Your Enthusiasm. It really, really does. So, guys, definitely be sure to check it out. If you are a Daily Show fan, what are your thoughts on having Jon Stewart back? Do you want him to come back full time? Do you want him to just stick to Monday so he can pursue other opportunities? Whatever you think, definitely be sure to let me know your thoughts on that. And with that down, we're gonna call it for the show there today, guys. I want to thank my guest, Jonathan Taylor. Definitely be sure to support him. iTunes, Amazon Music, all that stuff. Be sure to check out his music. And thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure our next episode of Thursday Think Tank with Christian and friends is coming out this week. So definitely be sure to tune into that. We've been getting a great response on our social media with regards to that. Lots of emails. And we really, really appreciate it. And we're to keep that going for as long as we can. So, yeah, guys. And also, Playhouse Choral opens up next week. It opens up next week. Which is March 1st and 2nd, next Friday and Saturday. It's crazy that I'm even saying that. But here we are. Get your tickets, 1-506-624-3315. Book your tickets now, and we look forward to seeing you guys there. See you guys next week. Until then, actually, no, sorry. See you guys on Thursday for the Think Tank. I'm sorry. It's going to take a while for me to get used to that. When am I recording this? When is it coming out? When is the Thursday Think Tank? Every second Thursday. So thank you guys. See you on Thursday. And until then, this is Franky signing off. Have a good week.